Welcome to Beautifully Consumed. I'm Chelsea Leigh, owner of Chelsea Leigh Jewelry and your host. I'm just a girl that decided to go for it, and now I'm a successful business owner. But there's more to life than business, and that's why I found myself on a mission to love and become my most true self. I'm so excited to have this podcast as a space where we can do that together. You're in the right place if you're ready to be wildly dedicated to finding your purpose, becoming your most true self, and learning what it means to be beautifully consumed by living a life that is undeniably yours. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Beautifully Consumed. I am your host, Chelsea Leigh. I am so glad to be on the mic today. It has been over a month since I've sat down and recorded a podcast episode. And I know that you don't get to see that. You don't get to see the behind the scenes of that because I'm releasing new episodes every week. But the way I've been doing this is I've been recording episodes in batches. So all of the episodes I did in February, most of them I actually recorded in January. So I'm really excited to be back and recording and getting another batch of episodes ready to go for the next few weeks. And it's so interesting listening back to my first few episodes because it's not really that long ago, but for me, it feels so long ago that I recorded those, and I can hear all the little imperfections and see all of the mistakes I made with editing and things like that. I feel like I've just learned so much and grown so much since I started recording that it almost is a little bit cringy for me to listen back and see some of those episodes or mistakes I made, which is so interesting. So it's a little bit of like delayed gratification. And let me just tell you that podcasting is not for the faint of heart. It is very different than anything I've ever done. And I would consider myself pretty technologically savvy. I have a pretty easy time figuring out like new apps or anything like that. Podcasting is just on another level. I don't really know how to describe it. So there's definitely been some glitches and my camera didn't work for an episode and things like that. But I am at a place now where I feel really good about how I'm editing and recording and my setup and stuff like that. So fingers crossed, I got a lot of those bumps in the road smoothed out. But I am a huge proponent of just jumping in and doing it and figuring it out as you go. You will never get started if you wait until it's perfect. So done is better than perfect, and learning lessons along the way is truly the best and the quickest way to learn. So thanks for sticking with me for the first batch of episodes. And like I said, hopefully it is only up from here. So I've got a really great just little motivational episode for you today. But before we jump into that, I want to see if you're following me on Instagram. If you're not, I'd love for you to go check it out. It's at Beautifully Consumed, and there's a link in my bio on Instagram. It'll also be in the show notes below, where you can leave me a voice note. So podcasting is so interesting because it feels so much like a one-way street where you're getting to see and hear from me every single week, but I don't get to hear back from you. So it feels a little awkward to me, to be honest. And I would really, really love to hear from you. So I have, like I said, link in my bio on my Instagram. It's also in the show notes where you can actually leave me a voice note. So I would love to hear from you, whether you just want to say hi, if you want to ask me a question or ask for some advice. I'll try to give you my best shot at giving you some advice or answering your questions. Anything goes. You can ask me anything about my personal life. You can ask me about the podcast, about business, really anything on the table. Or if you want to leave me a review in the form of a voice note, give me some feedback, tell me things that you want to hear in future episodes. I just would love to hear from you because, like I said, it just feels like such a one-way street, and I'd love to open up that line of communication and allow us to connect a little bit better. So I'm going to compile those voice notes over time. And if I get enough questions compiled, I will eventually do like a little Q&A episode with me. So I'd love for you to go do that. Again, the link is below in the show notes or in my Instagram bio at Beautifully Consumed. Right. So I want to know, did you set any New Year's resolutions? And if you did, how are they going? We are in the middle of March. So this is definitely a time of year where a lot of people's New Year's resolutions are long gone and out the window by now. And I'm just curious where you are on that. Did you set any in the first place, or did you just not feel the motivation to set any? And maybe you're feeling like, oh, it's just too late now, or you're kind of kicking yourself for setting too many resolutions and not being able to stick to them. Or maybe you're crushing it. Who knows? But wherever you are, as far as whatever intentions you set for the year or goals you set for the year or whatever changes you set out to make or maybe not make, I want to tell you that there is never a right or wrong time, or it is never too late to make a change or set an intention. However, if you are looking for a sign that it's your time to do so, I am here to give you one. So let's go ahead and get into this episode. I intentionally am recording and releasing this episode today, Monday, March 18th, because tomorrow, Tuesday, March 19th, is actually the spring equinox. So as you know, spring equinox is the first day of spring, but not only is it the first day of spring, it actually is this beautiful phenomenon of nature where there is equal parts daylight and darkness. That is what the word equinox means in Latin. It means equal night. And there is actually a very specific moment in the day where there is equal parts light and dark in the northern hemisphere. It's where the sun is like directly over the equator. I don't know. I'm not an astronomer. So I am just explaining this to the best of my knowledge, but it's something that only happens twice a year. So it happens in the spring and it happens in the fall. So this point in the year marks where up until this point, our days have been getting longer and longer. And now we're at this beautiful state of equilibrium on the spring equinox. And from here, the days will start to get longer and there will be more light than there is dark. And personally, I am very ready and excited for that. But there's more to the spring equinox than the start of spring and this equilibrium or this balance in lightness and darkness in the world. So let me back up by saying our whole lives, we have been taught that the new year starts on January 1st, right? We have been taught to set goals, get in shape, finally make those changes we've been wanting to make, like just January 1st is time to hit the ground running and just completely become our best versions of ourselves. And I'm willing to bet that you do this every year or you've done this in years past. And sometimes you find it hard to stick with, or maybe you find it hard to get started in the first place. And I can totally relate with both of those. But the problem with this is January 1st is quite literally the dead of winter. Winter starts mid to late December. So January 1st, we are in the heart of winter. In the northern hemisphere, it is cold, it's dark, there's no leaves on the trees, animals are hibernating, Mother Nature is dormant, and it just feels like a season of wanting to like cozy up on the couch and sleep more and get more rest and feel more internal and not as social or extroverted. And that is exactly how the world was designed. But we've been sold this idea that January 1st is the exact opposite. We should be getting out and doing new things and improving and just working really hard instead of taking advantage of the winter months to rest and relax and recharge, just as Mother Nature does. And when you think about it, we are a piece of Mother Nature, but the world we live in is so removed. Like we have removed ourselves so far from Mother Nature that we are doing the exact opposite of what the rest of the earth is doing during the winter months. And we're hitting the ground running instead of actually taking time to breathe and relax. And again, just recharge for those spring and summer months where we do have more energy and the days are longer. So, what if I told you that the new year doesn't actually start on January 1st, but it starts on the day of the spring equinox? So, as we approach spring, days are getting longer. The trees are starting to bloom, flowers are starting to bloom, animals are emerging. You might even see little baby bunnies and baby squirrels. There's just new life, freshness. Your mood might even start to change as the days get longer and the weather gets warmer. And overall, there's just this sense of new life, new beginnings, fresh starts. That is all that spring embodies and has to offer. So, this alone just points to spring being the perfect start to the new year. But there's actually a lot of interesting theories, both historical and astronomical, that say that the spring equinox is actually the first day of the year. So if you're familiar with astrology at all, you do know that the spring equinox or the astrological calendar starts in March on the spring equinox, and it starts with Aries season. So that is where the zodiac signs, the first one is Aries. You can also look back in history and learn about how our calendar system has changed and how we've learned, all the different ways that we keep track of time and everything. But if you go back and look in the Roman times, you will find that they also started their new year in March, and you can simply look at the naming structure of our months. This is something I have never thought of. It was recently pointed out to me, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. So, supporting that the new year starts in March, what does October mean? Oct. It means 8. What does November mean? Nov, 9. December, dec, is 10. So that just supports that March is actually the first month of the year because you have October, November, December, 8, 9, 10. Wild, right? And I'm not here to give you a history lesson or to dive into the complexities of astrology or anything like that. I just want to kind of give you an overview and something for you to just think about. And if you are interested and you want to look into it further, please feel free to. But it's so interesting, right? To think about it this way because we've been taught this complete opposite way of thinking our whole lives. So I simply want to just give you some encouragement. And if you're feeling stuck or if you're feeling like disappointed about how your New Year's goals or resolutions or intentions have been going, or maybe not going, or if you need just like that little push or a little motivation to get started, I want to encourage you that now is the perfect time to do that. And again, I'm a firm believer that you can make changes or set intentions literally anytime you want. You can change your mind later today if you want. You can make a change in the middle of the day. You don't have to wait till tomorrow. You don't have to wait till Monday. You don't have to wait till next month or next year. You can change right this second if you want to. But there's just something so like fresh and inspiring and life-giving about the season of spring. So I really challenge you to kind of like tap into this energy that spring brings with it and reevaluate or get inspired and use nature's force and nature's like natural changes in season as your own, and just really tap into that and go with the flow that nature intended you to. So get outside, take in all of the beautiful sights and sounds that spring has to offer. The skies are going to start to look more blue. The trees are going to start to look more green. There's beautiful flowers blooming and birds chirping, and you're going to see more animals out running around. And it's just such a beautiful time of year. And I really encourage you to get outside and soak that in and just appreciate it for its beauty and what it is. Try your best to feel present and feel grounded and feel at peace with this change and this new season. I also encourage you to let go of the things that you feel no longer serve you and give yourself the permission to let go and drop them. And you know exactly what they are. You are smart and you are intuitive and you know what is best for you in your gut. What are those things? Think about them, journal about them, go on a walk and let your mind wander. But you know what it is that you need to change or what you need to let go of or what you need more of. And I encourage you to use this energy of spring to give yourself the permission to leave those things behind and invite new things into your life. And give yourself the permission to invite and welcome the abundance of new beginnings and welcome anything that wants to bloom and wants to flourish in you. And again, you're intuitive and you know what these things are and they'll come to you naturally. I want you to just ask yourself, what is something deep down that you want for yourself? And allow yourself permission to step into that. And I want to acknowledge that change and new beginnings can be really exciting and fruitful and refreshing, but I also understand that it can be scary and it can come with resistance and it can just be uncomfortable, and that's okay too. And I think the one thing that is guaranteed in life is change. Everything is changing all the time. We are constantly changing. The seasons are constantly changing. Our environment is constantly changing. Change is something that is the only thing that stays the same is your world, and you will ever be changing. So the more that you can hold on to that and embrace that, your life will just become that much more beautiful. And I was listening to another podcast and they were talking about the phenomenon of like all these movies that you watch where these people are like stuck in time, like Groundhog Day or Age of Adeline. If you've seen either of those movies, where in Groundhog Day, he's living the same day over and over and over again. Or with Age of Adeline, she's stuck at this age forever and the whole rest of the world around her changes and her loved ones grow up and get older in front of her eyes and they die. And then she has to meet new people and go through these cycles all over again. And it's really interesting because the one thing that I feel like we resist the most as humans is we resist change and we resist getting older. But think about your life if you didn't. Think about what it would really be like if nothing ever changed, or you never changed, or you never got older while the rest of the world did. So it's really kind of something interesting and thought-provoking. And it's just beautiful that we get this opportunity to see new beginnings and see endings and see the beauty in both of those things. It's funny because so many people, when they turn another year older on their birthday, they're like, oh, I can't believe I'm 32 or whatever. And I always tell them, well, it's better than the alternative, right? Because the alternative would be to not have that birthday at all, which would mean that you're dead. So it is really important to embrace change, and it's a blessing to grow to be another year older, because that's a privilege a lot of people don't get. Unfortunately, I know a lot of people who have gone too soon, and that's something that I keep in the back of my mind and try to remind myself like, hey, it is truly a blessing that I get to see another year of life. So turning 32 is not something to dread or be upset about. It's something to celebrate. It's a whole nother year that I get to live and experience. So when you're met with these feelings of like resistance or uncomfortableness, when you start thinking about what it is you want to change or what you want to let go of or invite into your life, I want you to remind yourself of that. And there's this saying, it goes something like, it's always going to be easy to live a life you hate, but hard to live a life you love. And the way that I think that needs to be interpreted is it simply means that it's always going to be easy or comfortable to live a life that you want to escape. Like, it's the easier choice to stay comfortable. It's the easier choice to scroll on your phone or watch those same TV shows every night that you want to watch, or to sleep in or not take risks. To stay stagnant and stay in your comfort zone is easier. It's the easier choice. That's why it's called a comfort zone, because it feels comfortable. Oftentimes, when you make the decision to stay comfortable and stay in your comfort zone, it's not going to give you the life that you want or desire. But to get up early and to go to the gym even when you don't feel like it, or to move somewhere new even when you don't know anybody, or to go out on a limb and make the uncommon choices, to take risks, that is what's going to lead you to a life that you truly love. So that's what I mean by hard. That's what it means when it says it will be harder to live a life you love and easier to live a life that you hate. And let me tell you this, I am truly a firm believer that what you set your mind and your heart to, you absolutely will achieve. No doubts about it. I could talk so much about this. And in fact, I'm actually planning an episode about manifestation and like the power of your mind and how that has an impact on who you become. So stay tuned for that one, because that's going to be a really, really good one. And if this all sounds too like woo woo to you or whatever, I totally understand. Like, probably 5 years ago, I would have been looking at myself right now and being like, that girl is freaking crazy. What is she talking about? But I have truly seen the power of how having a positive mindset and believing in yourself and speaking into existence the things that you want for yourself. I have truly seen how that works and how it manifests in life. And there's a real science behind it. Like, this is not just some woo-woo spiritual type of stuff. Like, there is actual neuroscience to support the power of your mind and the power of manifestation. So stay tuned for that episode. It's going to be really good. But for now, I really just hope that this episode left you feeling encouraged and ready to bloom and blossom into the beautiful person that you're meant to be and the beautiful person that you want to be. And remember, it is never, ever, ever too late to make a change, to set an intention, or to let go of anything that doesn't serve you anymore. So don't forget, I really would love to hear from you. Leave me a voice note using the link below in the show notes, or at the link in my bio on Instagram at Beautifully Consumed. I'd love to hear what you thought of this episode, or ask me a question about anything you want to learn about. So thank you so much for listening to this episode today. Happy Spring Equinox. Happy New Year. And I will see y'all next week.